We bid farewell to Songshan and Elder Dupre, Elder Barrett, Elder Toronto, who might have died there. I don't know, but if not, he went home very shortly thereafter. And I moved to Shirlene. Shirlene, not very far away. I'd have to look at a map. We could ride our bikes. We could certainly take a taxi there. But it was a world away. It was most definitely still the big city, if not the bigger city, but it was all in the Taipei cluster right there, the industrial, the built-up part. And I moved there, I believe, under the discernment of President Crook, which at some point we have to segue from President Nielsen to President Crook, because it happened, certainly. And you may very well not remember President Nielsen. That's probably right. Fred Crook. Let's just say two very different leadership styles. And it was obvious from the get-go, but not because President Crook made a point of leading differently. He simply did. I remember him saying at one of the opening functions there that he had no plans to make big changes, and that we shouldn't expect any big changes, which is a relative term anyway in the mission field. How big of a change is he going to make? Yes, you can all wear colored shirts now. I don't think so. President Crook comes on island, and no, we love the guy, of course, but frankly, he seemed he seemed a little, I don't want to say out of his league. He seemed a little disoriented. His wife, Sister Crook, did not. And we all noticed that somehow she just was ready to go, attitude great, pointed in the right direction, said the right things, and did it all with more than a smile on her face, because she just seemed in her element. And then there were two or three kids who didn't speak the language very well. So, of course, that was good. We didn't feel, or I didn't feel, completely intimidated by 9 and 10-year-olds. But President Crook seemed to be getting his sea legs very much, because I remember my first interview with him, and it was more of a chat. And he had a lot of questions that weren't so much about me as they were about the missionary experience on the island of Taiwan. And I don't remember specifics, but it was very low impact. Let's just call it a low impact interview with President Crook. And then my further interactions with him became even more collegial, even more easygoing. Although the poor guy, again, getting that's a bad analogy, getting his sea legs, because he ended up being the mission president while I was zone leader, or I should say I ended up being the zone leader in Geelong while he was mission president. And we went down to Hualien periodically on the ferry. And he got seasick. He hated the ferry. And we would do interviews because there was time on the ferry, a couple of hours there, yeah. And so he wanted to take care of some business, and so he would do missionary interviews. And I remember having one interview with the poor guy right on the railing, because at any moment he might barf right into the ocean there. Green around the gills, but still willing to take on the challenges of his calling. Yeah. President Crook. And I went to a Scenic Zone conference in Ulai with President Crook at one point. And he was a lot of fun there. In fact, I've got a picture. I'll find it. Where is it? Of a game that we played while we were there, trying to feed our blindfolded companions a banana with oversized chopsticks. And he loved that game. and we laughed hard. Everybody laughed hard. Fred Crook on island, certainly by the time I moved to Shirlene. And there I go, into Shirlene. And it's even more of the big city because it was either adjacent to or it was part of the overall military American complex there near Taipei. What did they call? I was never actually there. I was never actually in an apartment there. But what was the name of that place across the river? Dio. I can't remember. Shirlene was close to it. So, in order to cater to the American market, the entire civilization around the city of Shirlene was bumped up. It was bumped up a degree. There were just lots of Western or Westernized things for sale in more storefronts, and we went to church at an American branch. A teeny tiny American branch, not the military branch. A teeny tiny American branch there on a big main street. Of course, it was a typical chapel. It was just a rented box where the bottom floor had one of those roll-up metal garage doors. But that was nevertheless the chapel for this area. And we could conduct the meetings either in Mandarin or English, because even though the American people who attended, and there were probably only 6 or 8 of them, I remember a guy who, he was there with his family, had a job, wasn't military, and then a couple of drop-in militaries, and the missionaries. And if we brought investigators, we would either interpret for them or we would speak from the podium, and the Americans who didn't speak Mandarin were just fine with that. It was a great, highly energized situation. More than that, I had 2 of the, I will not say best, but I will say the most easygoing companions that I had my entire time on island there in Shirlene. And that just put a wonderful glaze over the whole thing. I'm not sure if he was my first or second companion in Shirlene, but Mike Bassett, Elder Bassett. Okay, this is how it goes. He must have already been there. He was already there, Mike Bassett. And when I moved in to the apartment, moved in with Mike Bassett as my junior companion, but he'd already been there. So we've got the same thing going as when I went to Elan, and Gary Peterson is the junior, but knows everything and has to show me everything. But the fact that I had now been on island a year and I was over hump day, made all the difference. It's not necessarily that Mike Bassett was that much friendlier or outgoing than Gary Peterson. It's that I didn't have this new senior companion 4-month on island chip on my shoulder or worry on my brow. And I settled in. I remember settling in with Mike Bassett. And again, frankly, it was just kind of co-seniors. Sure, Elder Meacham, you make the choice on what part of town we go tracting in. But he was great with the language, and he knew all the investigators already, and there were investigators. And that's something I have to catch up on the areas I've already talked about. Is there were investigators, there were baptisms, there were, Corey. You weren't a complete failure as a missionary. So, I'm making a note here to follow up with that. But there we were, Bassett and Meacham. And I remember he came up with the following name for our companionship. Because as you may or may not remember, but certainly I do, the elders got pretty casual pretty quickly with the names they would use with each other. All of this, of course, is in the conservative context of the Mormon missionary experience. I think I called one elder by his first name once. It was probably Waltman. And that felt so wrong that I never did it again. But certainly Elder Meacham became Meacham, or Ni Jonglao, or just Ni. Elder Toronto became Tu Jonglao, or just Tuza. And so Bassett came up with a name for us taken from a popular television show of the day. And so instead of Meacham and Bassett, we were Baskey and Meach. Baskey and Meach. Taken after Starsky and Hutch. And that pretty much encapsulates, I think, or I should say represents, is indicative of the nature of the happy time I spent in Shirling with Elder Bassett. There's more to come. It was either 2 months or 1 month. I was only there for 3 months. Again, it broke up into a nice big chunk. I was there for 3 months. And we'll talk a little bit more about Elder Bassett in the next broadcast. But it's all going to be good. And pretty much all of Shirling is going to be good. Of course it's going to be good. Why? Because that's where I met none other than Mr. Steve Hood.